So, as I begin, I just want everyone to think of one person, right? Imagine their face, their name, any special features. This person could be your mom, your dad, any siblings, any friends, just anyone. Now do the same again. Think of another person. This person could be your, your best friend, your worst friend, just anyone. Now think of a third one. Now a fourth one. Now a fifth one. All the way up to 100. I mean, it's pretty difficult, right? I mean, you probably got to around 3 or 4 and you gave up already, so. We've become so accustomed to seeing things in the news, such as death tolls from natural disasters of almost up to 500 people. Sometimes we don't even realize that behind each number exists an individual person. And only once we take into account this factor can we begin to unravel one pivotal past event that has changed the course of history forever. Now try and imagine 6 million. 6 million people. 6 million individuals, each with their own individual background and story. And yet, in the period of just 4 years, they were systematically wiped out by the Nazis. These 6 million individuals could have been mothers or fathers, sisters or brothers, sons or daughters. But through the course of all this genocide, no one had bothered to stop them. Well, why is this? Well, the state action nature of these murders made it a domestic issue, therefore exempted them from all international laws. In fact, no international laws had existed prior to the Holocaust, which allowed states to essentially mass murder any civilians. In fact, on trial at Nuremberg, Göring himself has asserted, that was our right. We were a sovereign state, and that was strictly our business. That the deporting and genocide of Jews was a strictly business of one sovereign state. It's absolutely disgusting. And yet, this was not even an isolated instance. Just 20 years earlier, the Ottoman Empire similarly embarked on another genocide. A genocide of Armenians, claiming over 600,000 to 1.5 million lives. And just like the Nazis, they were exempt from all liability, claiming that the slaughter of innocent Armenians, the slaughter of children, the slaughter of fathers and mothers, sisters or brothers, sons or daughters, it was necessary and to secure their sovereignty during World War I. Clearly, there was a problem. That states would be entitled to mass murder any civilians within any of their territory, also being absolved of any consequence. And so only through the mass murder of millions of people did the world finally understand that something had to be done. And so, 78 years ago, the Nuremberg trials finally ended after nearly an entire year of proceedings. For the first time in history, it rejected the precedent long withstanding ever since the First World War that states would be exempted from all war crime atrocities. It was deemed, for the first time in all of history, that the actions performed by the Nazis were so severe, no longer could states hide behind the veil of sovereignty. It was time for states to be held under international jurisprudence. Crimes against humanity. That's what they called it. Humanity, of course, being the key word. It was recognized that some crimes can be so impactful. They're not a detriment to just the millions of lives lost in those actions, but to humanity as a race and a species as a whole. And so, from the indictments from the Nuremberg indictments we've gone on to usher in a golden age of appreciation and awareness for the protection of human rights on one fundamental and basic basis. That, of course, the quality of being a human. Just 2 years later, over 50 different sovereign nations and their representatives came together to the United Nations General Assembly in Paris. Their aim, to declare a set of universal principles attributed to human beings all over the world. What they produced was a Universal Declaration of Human Rights, a set of 30 articles describing what rights human beings have, no matter where they went. These articles, according to Article 2, are with distinction of any kind, whether it be sex, language, religion, national social origin, or any other status. At its core, in Article 1 states that every human being is born free and equal in dignity and in rights. More importantly, Article 3 states that everyone has the right to life, to liberty, and to security. This was it. The ultimate safeguard to protecting our individual liberties against the tyrannical governments of the world. Violations would transcend domestic jurisprudence. In fact, it will go directly to the International Criminal Court, where it's a special judiciary created specifically to trial crimes against humanity or other crimes that are decided that harms humanity, essentially, yeah. And so, with the promotion of internationalism through the United Nations, a set of 30 clear and direct articles signposting our rights, and an independent judiciary court to trial violations of said rights, clearly, it is recognized that our rights warrant international intervention. However, we must never forget the dark path that took humanity to where it is. These people suffered in place of us. They died in place of us. Only through their suffering was humanity finally able to surpass and overcome the darkest period of our lives. Or so we thought. We are in fact yet to stray away from our dark past. This is a picture of the Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar. It's been documented since 2016, a mass persecution of this group of people, and it still ensues till this day. Over 40,000 lives have been lost, and yet, just like the oh-so-distant tragedies of the past, it lacks any sort of international intervention. Well, why is this? Once again, we ask, does it really necessitate another Holocaust-level genocide of over 6 million people for the world to finally pursue further action? Is it a question of method? Whether or not gassing people is more extreme than simply putting bullets in them? Or is it a question of scale? Maybe if the government killed more people, up to 6 million instead of 40,000, does the world finally recognize that, oh, we need to do something? Well, these questions are all funded by a lack of enforcement on part of our rights. Whilst, yes, the articles exist stating directly that our rights, what our rights are. Yes, the UN exists, a group of international representatives all over the world. And yes, the International Criminal Court exists. However, what use are they if mass suffering still is being perpetrated? Or even worse, it's being excused. In fact, out of the 196 different countries in this world, only 34 today recognizes that 600,000 to 1.5 million lives were lost due to the Armenian genocide. Our rights were created from the cause of suffering, from the cause of human suffering, and yet it lacks any sort of enforcement, leading to its detrimental effectiveness. Therefore, I would like to conclude by saying that our rights, albeit it's cemented in print, it still ultimately is fragile in nature. It can be characterized by simply one thing: its mere existence on paper. So therefore, what's to stop any governments, or even anyone, from simply tearing it up? Thank you.